I'm actually from the sister college. I'm from Faculty of Fine Arts of Lisbon University. So, in a way, I tend to feel at home. I am actually from the composing room. And I'm actually a typographer who feels that working with letterpress is actually my atmosphere. I started studying music and opera singing. That's because I'm very shy. And, I'm just ordinary. And through the music, I also discovered that phonetics and linguistics were actually the most important fact in typography. Typography is not a silent job. Letters are sounds. Graphic design is a sonorous profession. Through some of these posters, you can see some of, I would say, remote work, which started in 1996, exploring the expression of type through composition, through inking. So these are some of the posters that you actually can see in this exhibition. So thinking about and talking about sound, thinking about music, I arrived at this need to have a map of sounds, which are the letters and the alphabets sounds. So I have this obsession about organizing type. This poster was on an exhibition of catalogs. This is some of the inside pages. So I've traveled all around the world buying catalogs of type specimens to actually have this, again, tactility, this alphabets. So, in a way, I've built a strong collection of catalogs. And there is this book, which is called Book of Proofs, Livros de Provas. You can find this on the internet and Amazon. And this is actually a presentation of this map of alphabets that I need to compose. The word compose is present actually in the field of music and in the field of graphic design. And this is absolutely fundamental because we actually work as composers do. We actually work with pieces, we connect the pieces, and we build a narrative. The standing letters. 3 extensive and historical letterpress surveys and archive projects in 2 countries observed and considered after 25 years have passed. The first project, Peregrinação para Alfabeto, took place from 1995 to 1996 in Lisbon at Freitas Brito Typography in the compositor sector. So, this was the place where around 1995 I started a period of apprenticeship on the composing room. This was my real first deep job on the composition room. So every apprentice had to pass through this first step, which was indeed composing a text with itemization, and after that learn the way you would correct the text. So this is actually one of my absolutely historical and precious piece of letterpress at Typografia Freitas Brito. At the same time, I had the opportunity through these 2 years to do something like a catalog of the typefaces of Typografia Freitas Brito. So I'm going to show you some of the proofs that actually represent the specimens that were in the composing room. This took me several months to actually join all these elements and to be possible to achieve not an exhaustive presentation of the composing room, but to express also this emotional way on the fact that letters carry sound. These are very old letters, and the characters actually, some of them are so old that it's impossible to get them entirely. This place was indeed a commercial place in the historical part of Lisbon, Cais do Sodré. Some of these materials, I have to say that some of these I'm actually presenting them for the first time. We are now celebrating 25 years after the moment when, due to a formative and professional need, I have decided to pursue formal training by becoming a typography apprentice of composition in Rua do Fragile at Cais do Sodré in Lisbon, in the Freitas Brito typography. Following this stimulus arose a very personal desire to record, print, and archive the typographic characters that were available in this typography by printing specimens in a manual flatbed proof press of relatively good quality in an ethnographic attitude. After this first opportunity in Lisbon, a period of residence in the United Kingdom as follows. First, in the city of London, and afterward in the city of Norwich. Here, it was possible to study and print the typographic spoils of the Norwich School of Art and Design Typography Room and the John Gerald Printing Museum. The presence of visual poetry is very important in my work. Portugal is a very strong tradition related with concrete poetry, and the influence of Brazil is also unavoidable. Experimental poets like Mélio Castro and Salete Tavares are strong references in my work. This project was possible because the letterpress workshop back there in Norwich was extremely good. They had a very good collection of wood type and was more or less abandoned by that time. Now we are actually having a rebirth, a strong interest on letterpress. And I mean, around 1996 was actually, strong appeal for the computers. So the composing room was almost empty. Typographic thoughts are, in a certain way, ways of thinking through the use of metal and wood type. And again, this need to have this map of characters then to be possible to compose and to work in this field. The idea of a catalog, the idea of having a presentation of the alphabet, of characters, but at the same time communicate a certain emotion and a certain way of interpreting the alphabet. All these are root type, all these are metal type, and through this understanding of the tactility, it's also important to understand the pedagogical richness of letterpress. In fact, in letterpress, you have to to concentrate on the fact that all the elements of the composition are to be selected and work together. So white space, which in the computer is a negative space, the white space in letterpress is actually physical, tactile. And this is why letterpress is absolutely unavoidable when you think about doing a degree in graphic design. That's why when we think about letterpress on a master's degree, it's always with a attitude of remediation that we actually reach typography. At the same time, obviously, exploring the expression of the characters, but indeed there is this something like the last opportunity to understand the fundamentals on composition. Composition directly connected with function, with literacy, with legibility, with readability. In this typographic thoughts, so was the opportunity to have this map, but also to think about this map. So some of these compositions are indeed possibilities to think, to reflect how letters are important in graphic design. So the second part of this nucleus is based on some reflections around type. So this tratado primeiro de tipografia takes me to some kind of keywords in letterpress. A palavra visível, manual tipográfico, articulated with some key names in the field of type design. Eric Gill, design philosophy, anatomia, William Caslow, tipografia, futurism, Giambattista Badoni, fragmentos suspensos, renascimento tipográfico, that's what we are actually seeing here in this wonderful congress, is actually this rebirth of letterpress and tactility. Typography indeed is an agreement between composition and function. So in this thoughts, I also did some compositions which were reflections on some key names in the field. Fournier's importance is due to the way he reflected the Rococo movement. The letters themselves are beautiful design shapes. The modern Romans, Didot, Bodoni, and later Walbaum, Seto homenagens is another sub-chapter, I would say, in these typographic thoughts. Set homenagens to seven key figures in the field. William Casler. Unfortunately, this some of the workshops we are losing some of these workshops, and unfortunately, and very sadly, the workshop, the composing room in the Norwich School of Art, it's now a computer room, and it was impossible for me last time I was there to actually discover, what happened in terms of the wood and the metal type. John Baskerville. Pierre-Simon Fournier. Here, mixing metal type with wood type, and this confrontation between the old wood type and the metal type. I'm reading some clean and tidy ones, and Giambattista Bodoni. Palatino. Well, looking at this material, which has 25 years, it's important to say that back to that time, I looked at this compromising with letterpress as almost kind of hitting again something which is very old. But now we have this sensation that this is new again, and this gives us a freshness when we think about the touch of the wood, the touch of the ink, which actually gives graphic design texture and density. This is the third project. Later, on my return to Portugal, during the 2 years that I was a letterpress teacher at the Polytechnic Institute of Tomar, which is my heart college in Portugal, I have to say, I have made an extensive and almost monographic record of the lead material in the typographic composition workshop where I taught. So, this college in the center of Portugal received a lot of metal type from the main national printing house in Lisbon. So I decided to, instead of doing the kind of approach that I did on the 2 previous projects, I decided to actually print the type as it arrived. So I decided to keep the composition that actually the National Printing House made for the arrangement of type. This is between 1997 and 1998. Something important in this project is the repetition. And we can see that vowels and consonants actually are repeated. Obviously, because we need a lot of type on the composing room. But this actually interests me mainly in the vowels for one single reason. Talking about graphic design as a sonorous activity, we have to realize that the main element for the expression of type is based on the vowels. So if you take a look at the Opera singing, you see that the chant is made through the vowels, and consonants are percussive. So I can say something like una furtiva lacrima. So I'm actually using the vowels as a device for singing. That's why vowels are so important on the confrontation with the consonants. So this repetition of type, instead of actually having a projectual approach on this, something that we can call a catalog, I decided to actually maintain this repetition for, in a way, I would say 2 reasons. The first one, to be ethnographically and historically correct. And a second reason, so it's more or less double fold, to understand the importance of time and music in graphic design. I mean, it's a very long catalog of type, and I decided to keep all the elements of the way the material was packed. So this workshop, this symposium room back in the Polytechnic of Tomar was extremely rich in terms of the variation of characters. This project, I'm showing it in this perspective actually for the first time. So in a way, it's almost an archaeological discovery. After this job, we did a small exhibition in the Polytechnic back in 1997, 1998. The structure and the organization of type is actually the same as a general enterprise would receive when they ask for more type for the workshop. By that time, Tomar was the only letterpress workshop in Portugal. After returning from England, we made letterpress workshop in Lisbon, in a private college called Arco. But by that time, this was the only place in the country where students could actually work on on the level of higher studies in the university. Now there is also a master in editorial design, where actually students can use this material. In 1997, when I did this exhibition, we used a musical piece by a Dutch composer called Louis Andriessen. He has a piece of music which is about the labor and the workers of a composing room. So it's a very strong piece, very noisy and very metallic, which in a way can be a coherent background for something like this. As I told you, the arrangement of type is the same as it came from the National Printing House, but then we arrive at the big type. And in here, again, this influence of visual poetry, concrete poetry from Brazil, experimental poetry from Portugal, actually brought kind of a composition appeal. The project is an exhaustive and long block of, in this case, A3 sheets. It's quite good quality and good ink, actually. We lost some of these characters for bad behavior of some students, but we have to say that the workshop is still in good shape. My existence as author of these pieces is very, I would say, very polite and just letting the letters speak by themselves, trying not to be extremely expressive in terms of composition. I also look at this as a piece of archaeology, an ethnographic fieldwork in the composing room. This monochromatic attitude bring this clean way of thinking about characters, their expression. The last subchapter of this part is strong Egyptian. Very strong and big characters. These are actually metal type. Very direct, very objective portrait of a typeface. Having this map makes possible trying to actually compose. So I tend to see these individuals as little treasures that have their own expression, their own feeling. And at the same time, it constitutes a pleasure. Just looking at type, I have to admit. Thank you very much.